Good evening and welcome to Catholic Focus here on Capuchin TV. I'm Maureen Kimani and our signed language interpreter is Hezron Otieno. We begin with highlights from Vatican City as catechists from around the world gathered in Rome. Pope Leo XIV highlighted the importance of the sensus fidei, the lived faith of ordinary believers, as a force that has historically guided the Church's journey. He delivered these remarks during a special Jubilee audience in St. Peter's Square. Let's take a look.
As we continue our Jubilee catechesis, we are invited to consider another aspect of hope. God reveals himself to those who are simple and humble of heart, because they are open to receiving him. Their docility gives them great insight into the faith and enables them to follow the inspirations of the Holy Spirit. This is reflected in the people of Milan, who chose St. Ambrose as their bishop by popular acclaim, even though he was still preparing for baptism at the time. It was also docility that led Ambrose to respond to that call, trusting in the grace of God. Today, we too are invited to become business people, priests, or religious. We are all called to live our Christian faith authentically by humbly following the Lord's inspirations. May this spirit of simplicity guide us as we look forward with hope to the ongoing renewal of the Church and of the world.
Corporates and institutions are being urged to invest more in cybersecurity to guard against rising threats. Speaking at CHRM College 28th graduation in Nairobi, Principal Margaret Kenyanjui warned the costly breaches and reputational damage. The ceremony saw 876 students graduate, with speakers also noting artificial intelligence is transforming HR functions. Lilian Kimanthi has the details.
Corporate entities and institutions across the country are being urged to invest more in cybersecurity as the threat of cyber attacks continues to rise. Stakeholders say cybersecurity has become imperative in safeguarding sensitive data, ensuring continuous operations, complying with regulations, and protecting organizational reputation.
Teknolojia inasaidia sana na ni ya muhimu katika hii nyanja ya HR ama human resource, na hasa nitasema ni kwa kurahisisha mambo, kwa sababu mambo yale angechukua muda mrefu kufanya kwa akili ya sisi kama manually, kwa sahihi tunaweza kuifanya kwa haraka.
Why we should integrate AI in HR? As you know, AI now is more of the future, and as HR we have to be updated, and we have to integrate it because we have to be more involved, and we have to go with the world today, with the pace today. So we can integrate it in how we recruit people, how we manage the employees, how we, in all different ways, in development, in performance management, in all those ways, yes, the HR fundamental and functions.
Speaking during the 28th graduation ceremony of CHRM College in Nairobi, Principal Margaret Kenyanjui warned that without proper cybersecurity, corporates and institutions risk costly breaches, reputational damage, and the loss of customer trust.
Cases of fraud in the workplace, in the banks, or whichever area that you are in, we have seen that there is a need that we need to bring on, to train people who have the capabilities of cybersecurity. Other than that, of course, we know about AI and what AI is going to disrupt the workplace. It has already disrupted that workplace.
The graduation saw 876 students conferred with diplomas and higher diplomas in various fields, including cybersecurity, human resource management, and forensic investigations. Canon Stephen Obogo, who also addressed the gathering, echoed similar sentiments, stressing that the integration of AI in HR can help combat corruption, strengthening integrity, and uphold professionalism in workplaces.
It is our responsibility as HR professionals now that we have been given that commendation to go out there and to be able to impact the world in a very positive way, specifically on the area of corruption. And many a times, as I always say, that when we talk about corruption, many of us think it's about the government or it's about the politicians. But my call for all the HR professionals that have graduated today is that can we also look at ourselves. The only way that we can be able to grow this country like those powerful nations is when we put in the culture of obedience, the culture of integrity, the culture of honesty in the work that we do. Let us ensure that the processes that we implement in our HR framework, in our respective organization, follow the processes and the procedures that we have laid down.
Reporting for Catholic Focus, I am Lilian Kimanthi.
Moving on, Kenya's military veterans in Machakos County have received a major boost after Governor Wavinya Ndeti allocated them 10 acres of land in the upcoming Machakos city. The land will be used to establish a modern facility to support their welfare and development needs. Speaking during the launch of the Kenya Military Veterans Machakos chapter, the governor also praised the veterans' continued role in mentoring youth and contributing to nation building. Let's take a look.
And to our veterans, I say this with all my heart. Your mission is not over. You still have a role to play in shaping our communities, in mentoring our youth, in leading with the same values that once made you proud to salute our flag: discipline, integrity, courage and duty. So we will give you 10 acres at the city. Sasa isimewekea foundation. Hiyo nje ingine tutatembea pamoja by the grace of God.
We are aware that the governor had started a program of the youth. We will be highly supportive. In most ways, we'll even be able to volunteer our services where the need arises.
What we are also encouraging the chapters to be doing is to think about establishing, projects, economic projects, to help in job creation also for the people of Kenya. One of those is something like a SAC.
Now shift gears to a sad and disturbing story. Tension is high in Mungaha village after a man allegedly killed a 10-year-old boy. He was accused of defiling his young daughter. Police have launched investigations as the community grapples with shock and anger over the disturbing incident. Onwise Yvonne has the report.
A somber mood engulfed Mungaka village in Navakolo constituency, Kakamega County, after angry residents stashed 8 houses belonging to a man identified as Matthias Malinchi, as they accused him of killing a 10-year-old boy who is suspected of defiling his 2-year-old daughter. Witnesses led by the victim's grandmother Petrolina Alingo claimed the suspect attacked the boy for abusing his daughter in a nearby sugarcane plantation.
Yeye ndiye alipika mtoto, akamuua, akamfuruta hiyo biti yake, akamfuruta hiyo singo. Huyo mtoto alikufa kama anasikia vizuri. Hiyo mkono alipigwa kila kitu. Mtoto mdogo. Kama mtoto yuko na makosa, mbona kuita sisi?
Tunaomba serikali itusaidie, ukweli ijulikane. Kwa ajili sisi ni maskini na hao wameona ni matajiri. Hao wamenunua kwetu shamba. Tena kukuja kufanya nini? Kutulia mtoto. Hiyo ni uchungu. Mali watapata ingine, lakini mtoto nitapata wapi mchukuu wangu mwingine kama huyo? Nimeambiwa mtoto alikuja kuchukuliwa nyumbani kama anaosha vyombo. Akaitwa kutoka huko akakuja huko. Wakaanza kuchapa mtoto. Kuchapa mtoto hivyo, kumalizia wakaita baba ya mtoto. Kukuja baba ya mtoto kuja tena wakashika baba ya mtoto nini? Kwa shingo. Wanataka kunyonga yeye. Ndio wakafurutana hivyo. Baba ya mtoto akatoka. Wanafosisha baba ya mtoto afanye nini? Achape mtoto. Achape mtoto. Na baba ya mtoto naye inasemekana shingo iko imeenda kando hivi, shingo ya mtoto. Sasa huyo mtoto anaweza chapwa na watu wanaume wawili watatu. Mtoto mdogo kabisa.
Malinchi is said to have assaulted the class 4 pupil, dragged him to his house and later killed him before summoning the boy's father to collect the body. Outraged, villagers carried the child's remains into one of the suspect's houses before setting it ablaze, along with 7 others. The suspect narrowly escaped the mob's wrath and is reportedly still on the run. Suspect's brother Anthony Mulinchi condemned the distraction, insisting that criminals had taken advantage of the tragedy to loot and burn property.
Na nilipokuja nimepata kwamba kuna genge la wauni liliingilia katikati. Wamepora hapa mali ya ndugu yangu na bado wanaendelea kubora hata saa hii. Mkienda hata huko bado wanabomoa mabati na sijui hiyo mabati nayo wanabomoa kwa ruhusa ya nani. So that mimi kuhusu kifo cha mtoto siwezi sungumuzia, lakini nasungumuzia kwa kitu ambacho naona saa hii. Hii genge la wauni hili ni watu wenye mimi najua. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba mahakama kukuja tuanze kutafuta ili kenge kujua kwamba hao nao wameingilia wapi. Kama kuna watu wangekuwa na hasira ni wale watu ambao wamepoteza mtoto.
Residents, however, are demanding a manhunt for Malinchi, who remains at large. Navakolo OCPD Abdi Muhammad said investigations have commenced into the case and the suspect is at large. Abdi also warned those who revenged and destroyed property. Reporting for Catholic Focus, my name is Onuso Yvonne.
An Indian national has been sentenced to 3 years in prison by a Nairobi court after pleading guilty to doping-related charges. The 19-year-old was arrested in Iten with prohibited substances in what authorities say was a major breakthrough in the fight against doping. Deborah Mwanya reports.
At the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Magistrates Court, Aman Malik, a 19-year-old Indian national, was handed a 3-year jail term after admitting to being in possession of banned doping substances at the training camp in Iten, Elgeyo Marakwet. Magistrate Jerry Thuku ruled that Malik serve 3 years concurrently with a fine of 1 million shillings on one of the charges. Upon completing his sentence, he will be deported to the country of his origin.
Aman is sentenced to pay a fine of 1 million shillings. In default, he will serve 12 months in prison. In count 2, Aman, you are sentenced to 3 years in prison. In count 3, you are sentenced to 3 years in prison. In count 4, you are sentenced to 3 years in prison. Please sit down. The sentences in counts 1, 2, 3, and 4 are to run concurrently. Aman has 14 days right of appeal. Upon completion of the prison term, as Aman is to be repatriated through the immigration department back to his country of origin.
The magistrate emphasized that the judgment was necessary to safeguard Kenya's athletics heritage, noting that athletics unite the nation and define its reputation globally.
Aggravating factors include the scale and concealment of the doping operation linked to an international network, while mitigating factors note Aman's cooperation and lack of prior offenses. The statement recommends strong sentencing, enhanced monitoring of training hubs, and increased athlete education and health checks, concluding that the sophistication and scope of doping operation demand a robust legal and preventative response. When Aman was arrested, he had an entire suitcase filled with the prohibited substances, supplements, and medication, which, as a non-medical practitioner, he ought not to have, and hence the charge in count 1. The ADAC victim impact statement has a summary of a table which Aman was found with, which I consider important to reproduce. I thank ADAC for this summary. It highlights the scale and magnitude of the offenses. The report also emphasizes the damage to Kenya's reputation and highlights aggravating factors for ADAC, which include that there is a large-scale distribution of these substances, there is a sophisticated network that this case has the characteristics of organized crime. Aman was not acting alone. The prohibited substances were brought to Kenya. The court had the benefit of seeing the items as produced in court. The labels on some of the items were in a foreign language. Additionally, among the items listed in the inventory were used syringes and an agreement. The agreement between Aman and Ruben Mosin dated 19 November 2024. The terms of the agreement were explicit. Aman was to supply all that it takes to ensure that Ruben wins. Ruben was to share half of his winnings with Aman. It was a one-page agreement. This fact alone elevates Aman's involvement from a misguided youth to a person deeply entrenched in doping. He knew exactly what he was doing. He did not come to Kenya to train as an athlete. He came to earn a living using a trade that is devious and dangerous for the individual athlete and for the nation of Kenya.
Authorities say Malik was arrested in May in a multi-agency operation involving the Anti-Doping Authority of Kenya and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. He was found with human growth hormone, meldonium, mannitol, IV bags, and syringes, items pointing to a possible doping syndicate. The court further directed that the seized substances be destroyed by the Pharmacy and Poisons Board if no appeal is filed within 14 days.
If there is no appeal within 14 days, the items that are produced that are the domain of the Anti-Doping Authority as listed in counts 2, 3, and 4 are to be surrendered to the ADAC by the investigating officer for further action by ADAC. The investigating officer is to keep a signed inventory for the court record, which will be presented to the court at the next mention. All the other substances not classified as prohibited substances under the Anti-Doping Act of Kenya are to be forfeited for disposal to the Pharmacy and Poisons Board if there is no appeal within 14 days. This is to be done in line with Section 46(3) of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board Act. The investigating officer is to keep an inventory of the court record, which will be presented to the court at the next mention.
ADAC has welcomed the ruling, terming it a victory in the relentless battle against doping as Kenya seeks to protect the integrity of its athletics. Deborah Mwania, Capuchin TV, Catholic Focus, Nairobi.
That's how we head on this edition of Catholic Focus. Thank you for watching. I'm Maureen Kimani, and our signed language interpreter has been Hezron Otieno. Enjoy your weekend and God bless.
Keep watching Capuchin TV, your staunchly Catholic identity channel.
You are watching Capuchin TV. For any complaints, comments, or compliments on our programming, you can either write to us on info@capuchintv.co.ke or you can call us directly on 0717 424 866. Your complaint shall be addressed within 7 days.